Hi, Catherine. I have been some time reflecting on your initial interview with Anne, and I want to deconstruct it to really understand how the modern collaborative approach can help someone reclaim their life. It's incredibly to see how one core philosophy shapes everything from the questions asked to the final action plan. In this video, we will cover the guiding philosophy, then explore the foundational thinking and action domains, how these form and action plans. Then finally, we review your performance with strengths and improvement. Let's make Anne. After a hip replacement, she's in rehab facility. What you see on the screen right now is her ultimate design. This simple design is the driving force, the North Star for the entire section. Her powerful design for autonomy, dignity, and the safety to simply be in her own space. But right out the gates, we saw the problem. Anne's goal was crystal clear, but the hospital system has its own label for her, unsafe for discharge. This was that classic gap between a person's actual life and a clinical assessment. So, how did you bridge that gap during your session with Anne? I saw you use a specific framework, but you use it not as a grid map, but more like a compass. It's called the Collaborative Relationship Focus Approach, or CRF. CRF isn't a checklist, it's a philosophy. It's a deep commitment to partnership, and this compass points in one direction. Relevant, you ensure that the therapy is connected to her actual life. Nuance, you saw Anne as a unique person, not just diagnosis. Safety, you create a safe play both physically and emotionally for her. Self-determination, the ultimate goal is to promote client rights to choose their own path. So how is this philosophy structured in practice? You can think of it as three core pillars. The CRF approach is the guide, it's our compass. Then you have the how, the foundational processes, which is all about how the therapist think. And finally the what, the action domains, which is all about what the therapist actually does. Okay, with that compass in hand, let's look under the hood. We are now exploring the visible foundational thinking that guides you during your interview. First, I saw you constantly applying the use of justice, equity, and right-based lenses. It was clear that you were always asking yourself, is what I'm doing fair? Am I giving this person more control? This actually shaped the entire section. The best example was how you handled the unsafe to return home label from the hospitals. Instead of starting from there, you start with what Anne actually wants, which is being at home safely. You're doing that by using the Canadian Occupational Performance Measure, COPM. When she said being home safely was her 10/10 priority, that became the mission. That single move completely flipped the power dynamic. It was amazing to see how your action linked directly back to those CRF pillars. When you used the COPM to let her set her own goals, you were promoting self-determination. When you suggest a home visit to tackle her fears, you were striving for her safety, both physically and emotionally. Next, I saw you apply seeking understand about context. Remember, the CRF compass says the relationship must be contextually relevant, and your exploration went so deep in this. At a macro level, you got a specific, the surgery, her fear, the rickety background, and the big hook in her shower place. Then you zoom out to the meso level, her social world. She lived alone with a supportive but kind of busy daughter. And at the macro level, you acknowledge the systemic force, like the mandatory 6-week driving ban, restricting Anne's freedom and participation. A plan that ignores any of these layers is the plan that's just not going to work. But this is also where we see a missed opportunity. When Anne called her surgery a classic old lady fracture, she was voicing about an internalized macro-level narrative about aging. Your response was practical at micro-level for prevention programs. But I wonder if a pause to explore the emotional meaning behind that statement could help deepen your relationship with Anne even further. That's the point that I will come back later. Finally, I saw your constant use of reflecting and reasoning. Therapy is not a pre-written script. It's more like a dynamic dance. It's about thinking on your feet, adjusting the plan based on what the client is telling you, and connecting the dots in real time. This is exactly how you build a truly nuanced relationship with Anne. When I spoke about getting out of the house, you listened intently and realized that the real bottleneck wasn't working, it was the car. By refining the focus to getting in and out of the car, the plan became instantly more practical and showed Anne that she was truly being heard. Okay, that dynamic reasoning was strong, but it was also where I saw another chance for deeper critical reflection, particularly when Anne said that I've been ignoring the fact that I'm getting older. Exploring the personal meaning behind that new self-perception is a key part of truly person-centered care, and we will get back to this later. Okay, that was the how. Let's switch and look at the what's, how all internal thinking translate into observable actions during the section. Okay, here's what really cool. The first four domains, connect, explore, defining purpose, and co-design, didn't happen like a checklist. They meld together into one seamless conversation, all thanks to your use of COPM. The process began with connection, where you build a nuanced relationship by acknowledging an unique identity as a former physiotherapist. This flowed directly into exploration as you discuss her value occupations like gardening and University of the Third Age, making the conversation contextually relevant to her lived reality. This naturally leads to defining purpose as you transform her narrative data into clear therapeutic priorities: home safety at 10 over 10, showering at a 9, getting out and back to uni at 8 and 7. And from there, it was a smooth transition into co-design as you and Anne agreed together on the next steps. It's quite incredible to see how that entire process honor Anne's self-determination and demonstrate a clear commitment to striving for her safety, both physical and emotional. And the final two domain, trial the plans and plan for transition, was all about looking ahead. That was not really visible in your section with Anne since it was an initial interview, yeah. But when you schedule a future home visit and car transfer practice, you were setting up a way to trial the plans that strive for her safety in the real world, not just in the clinical bubble. And by mapping out these next steps, you were already starting to plan for a transition that create a clear, nuanced path forward, a crucial step in reducing a client anxiety and building trust with Anne. Okay, so based on that analysis, I have developed a proposed action plan with 3 steps that I believe flow directly from the collaborative process you start with Anne. Okay, so first is to address her 10 over 10 priority of being home safely. This isn't about plumbers, it's about getting into her actual living environment to tackle real problems. The plan is to conduct a home visit you have discussed with Anne before, where we assess the specific barriers she mentioned like rickety rail, the steps, the big hoop, and then we run a collaborative fall prevention sections, ensure contextual relevance and safety align perfectly with Anne and her living environment. This plan is the direct outcome of the seeking contact process. Remember, our analysis showed that her fail risk is multifactorial, and a home assessment and modification is a well-established strategy for such multifactorial intervention. It allows us to target the real source of her anxiety, upholding the core CRF principles of contextual relevance and safety, ensure we align with her primary, rights-based goal of living independently. Second, to address her 9 out of 10 priority of showering herself. This is about much more than just getting clear. It's about dignity. So, the plan isn't just to prescribe a shower chair, but to trial it in her old bathroom. This is informed by the foundational process of seeking context, recognizing her performance is a complex person-environment occupation interaction. In this in-home trial is how we can ensure a good PEO fit by testing the solution in her real life. This definitely promotes Anne's safety and upholding the core CRF principle of contextual relevance. Finally, a plan to tackle the risk of social isolation by addressing Anne's priorities of getting out of the house and back to uni. The challenge is to rebuild her bridge to the community. I proposed a graded plan, co-designed with her, like working up a staircase. Started with something simple, like car transfer practice, then short outings, and finally getting to where her uni classes. This plan is informed by the critical reflection of the risk of her context, isolation because of living alone and driving restriction. The graded approach review her self-efficacy systematically without overwhelming her, and the right-based lenses reframe the goal entirely. It's not just about restoring mobility, but about protecting her rights to reconnect with the community through her meaningful role at the uni of third age. Finally, a huge part of being reflective is being honest about what worked well and what we can learn from. So the strength is clear. You were fantastic at upholding Anne's self-determination by putting her goal first with the COPM, and your ability to reflect and adapt on the fly was masterclass in building a nuanced plans. But I also identify some opportunity for your practice to go even deeper. First, go to Shane to explore the deeper meaning behind an activity. When she mentioned her love for gardening, your talk stayed on physical mechanic. A simple open-ended questions like, what does gardening give you beyond just activity, could help open a rich conversation about Anne's identity and purpose. Another key moment was Anne's classic old lady fracture comment, a direct window into her inner world. Your functional response with a full prevention program was necessary, but imagine you say something like, that sounds like a heavy thought to me. How has this experience make you think differently about getting older? Such responses open a therapeutic conversation, which is a key part of creating true emotionally safety. And for me, this leads to a core idea. How can therapy move beyond solving functional issues to create a space where clients like Anne can make sense of what happened and rewrite their own stories? The goal is to move from a therapist who fixes a patient to a genuine partnership where a therapist guides the client on journey. And that is the end of the video. Thanks for listening.